Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and we're still stuck on this little Airbnb, but this is video number 2, and I'm gonna make it a binge. I don't know how to do that, but I'm gonna do it. So here we are to talk about what's going on in California. Holy man, those poor people in California are gonna lose all their money. Well, maybe some people will, but let's talk about what they just did in California. And there's a few people that have been posting videos out there, and I'm sure you've seen them because their channels are much bigger than mine, and talking about, I'm out, I'm quitting, I'm done, Airbnb is dead, bye-bye, see you later. Short-term rentals will not make any money because of a 15% tax that was brought in starting, I believe, in May 2024 for California short-term rentals, the whole state, to go to affordable housing. Now, whether or not that works or not is irrelevant. We're not going to talk about that. It won't work. There's a much better way to do it, but politicians are being lobbied by a certain group of people, and they're falling for it, and this lobby's been around for a long time, and they're really pushing, and they seem to be accomplishing some things. So, what does this mean for California? And will it go everywhere else? Well, it doesn't matter. I want to state this right now. If you have an Airbnb in California or anywhere, and your state or province is thinking of bringing in a 15% tax for affordable housing. Okay, great. Who cares? Honestly, who cares? Does that mean me as the host have to pay the 15% tax? Is it a back-end tax? No, it's based on what I'm charging. So let's do some round numbers. Let's say you have a place, and what should we pick? Let's pick Palm Springs. No, San Diego. I love San Diego. I've been booking 1 week rental at a house in San Diego since 2002. Way before Airbnb existed. And then they started putting it on Airbnb. I still book that place for 1 week in San Diego in the exact same location every year at the same time of the year. I've been there 20 years in a row, and 2024 will make 21. And whether they're on Airbnb or not on Airbnb, or and how I found them was happenstance. Just walking by, and there was a sign, and I called, and they lived next door, and they bought this junker house, fixed it up, and they did weekly rentals. Airbnb used to be weekly rentals, business rentals, and Airbnb came along and digitized it. So, is your 15% going to affect me? Well, I pay $400 a night to stay at that place. And I'm going to have to pay, what am I going to have to pay? $60 a night more for 7 nights. 7 times 6 is 42. That's $420 more I'm going to have to pay to stay at that Airbnb. I'm still staying at that Airbnb. It's not going to change. They're going to charge the same price that they've been charging, and that's just the way it's going to be. I'm going to have to pay an extra $500. Okay? That's just the way it is. If I don't want to pay the money, I won't travel. So, will the 15% tax affect travel? Is what you have to say to yourself. Am I still going to get my $400 a night? Most likely. Pretty nice place. I can't stay at the Marriott for that at that time of year. Nope, can't do it. Not like this, not with a kitchen and a yard and a deck and I can go on and on in the location. Oh, the location. You will not. There is no hotels or motels around where this location is, so I'm not booking anywhere else. If I can't get this, I'm not getting anything. So that's San Diego. So let's use Palm Springs, because I used to go there. Palm Springs has restrictions. There's only so many Airbnbs, they can only book so many a week, but now there's a 15% tax, so maybe you shouldn't do it. Well, if you're not doing it, you didn't do a business plan. That's right. If you're Airbnb and this 15% tax is going to affect you and you're going to go, I'm out. Well, maybe it's supply and demand and you should get out. That's a whole other video. But if you're Airbnb and you bought it, say 3 years ago or more, because in the United States, all mortgages are 30-year fixed rate mortgages, you have a 3% mortgage. And trust me, that mortgage company will be very happy for you to break it and won't charge you a penalty or anything. They'll just say, thank you very much. We can lend that money out at 8. No, you got that. That is fixed. You got that 3% fixed. And if you're not looking at how valuable that is, even if prices are down, you're not going to sell. There's going to be a housing crash. There's only going to be a crash if everyone moves away. Supply and demand. I just lived through a downturn that lasted 6 years because we had negative migration into my city. Births over deaths were great. So our population was growing, but it takes those people 25 years before they can buy a house. Migration in is really what's get the growth going. Well, now we're back to migration in. So prices are going up, but prices were going down. But guess what? My mortgages were at 2%. So here you are, you're Airbnb in Palm Springs, and you're like, I'm quitting, I'm gonna quit, or wherever you are, because of a 15% sales tax. I don't care if it was 25% for affordable housing. I'm totally against it, it won't work, but it's not gonna affect your Airbnb. You didn't do a business plan if you are quitting. You got a 3% mortgage for 30 years and you wanna get rid of it? There's no way you're gonna long-term rent. Just wanna let you know. No way you're gonna take your short term, turn it into long term. You will never generate the income. Even if supply and demand has dictated that maybe you won't get as many bookings or maybe you have to charge a little bit less for your bookings because you were getting pandemic pricing, which was ridiculous. The numbers that people were getting. If you didn't get into this knowing that this would change when the pandemic was over, you didn't do a business plan and made a mistake, and you better sit down and reevaluate it. So, the 15% tax will not in any way affect your Airbnb and should not be a factor in whether or not you're doing it or you're not. Is it bust? Is short-term rentals bust? In some areas, yes, they're bust. Absolutely. But the tax will have no effect. I book in your place. No, I'm getting that place for $400 a night. It has a pool, it has 3 bedrooms. I got some people coming with me. We're dividing it by 4 or 5. Wow, $100. 4 of us coming, that's $100 a night per person for a place with a pool in Palm Springs? I don't care, I got a 15. The extra charges, that's you blame the government for that, not the host. You're running a business, that's all you're getting. I know you're only getting that $100 a person. I know you're only getting that $400 a night. These extra that you blame the government for that. You don't blame the host. The host doesn't need to adjust their price based on the tax. They need to adjust their price based on supply and demand. And do you have a demand problem where you're Airbnb? And if you do have a demand problem, you better take a look at whether or not that demand will come back. Remember, you got a 3% mortgage. You didn't go out and buy it last year with a 7% mortgage. You got a 3%. Wow, that's free money as far as I'm concerned. If I could get a 3% mortgage, I tried to borrow $1 billion when it was 3%. I would have took $10 billion at 3% because it was ridiculous, but no one would give me the money. So I couldn't get the money. Otherwise, I'd own 1 million properties. If I could have got the money, I would have just gone out and bought everything I could. Now, I know how to be a long-term landlord. I don't have a problem with it. But I'm also an Airbnb-er. And so what's going on with Airbnb? So the 15% tax in California will have no effect whatsoever on your Airbnb bookings. If you're getting out of the business because you think that 15% tax will, you should have never got into the business in the first place. And you didn't sit down and do your research on what will work and what won't work where you're going to do this Airbnb. You just made the investment because the money was cheap. And trust me, it was easy to get. Easy to get, cheap money, people do things. Now, things have slowed down. Instead of going down the road at 200 miles an hour, we're now going down the road. The economy is now going down the road at the speed limit. It's not going below the speed limit. It's not recession. It's just, okay. Shrinkflation, inflation is taking its toll on people. It's stressful. And the companies out there, I'm not going to mention any right now, are ridiculous on how they're gouging the consumer and everything. And the consumer's saying no. But your Airbnb, look at your pricing, look at your bookings, and say, are people still traveling to my area? Are people still looking for this type of product? And how do I find out if they are? The platforms are there. You just got to put the work in. And it's hard. So thank you, California, for bringing in a 15% sales tax for affordable housing that'll do nothing for affordable housing. There's a very easy way to do affordable housing, but you're not going to do it. And that's just all there is to it. Thank you very much for tuning in to this little video about how a sales tax on your Airbnb is not going to affect your bookings. A sales tax came in where I am. It did not affect my bookings at all. I get the same amount of bookings, same amount of bookings, same amount of bookings. Now this year, bookings were down because travel has changed. Next year, I'm expecting my bookings to be down. Travel is changing. Will it come back? Yes, it will. Will it come back to pandemic levels? No, I never had an expectation of getting that many bookings. But my bookings will increase over time. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a wonderful week. And remember, sales taxes do not do anything to change your bookings for Airbnb. Your business plan should dictate what you're doing. Have yourself a great week, and I'll see you in the future.